I can probably guess that you were just craving that spiritual leadership from your husband. You're hoping that he is going to step up more and open the Bible, lead Bible studies or prayer times between you and him, or maybe even you and the whole family, whether you have kids in the home or elder parents, whatever it is. I'm sure that you're probably craving that leadership from your husband for him to step up and pray over you, pray over your house, pray over your kids, maybe even step up more in the church and just get closer to God. Because if you're here, you probably know that your husband growing closer to the Lord would benefit your marriage in so many ways. And so if that's you today, I'm going to share some very practical steps of things that you could repeat to your husband or speak over him or pray over him today to just encourage him in his relationship with the Lord, and make sure you're doing your part as the wife to strengthen him in his faith. Welcome to the United Christian Marriage Podcast, where we help you build a healthy, united marriage that impacts your family now and for generations to come. If your marriage feels disconnected or like you're the only one trying and he just doesn't get it, then you're in the right place. I'm Micaiah, a Christian marriage coach, trauma-informed mentor, and wife of a blue-collar man. I've been in the trenches too, and I've helped women make small but powerful shifts in their marriage daily, because it's really those little things that make the biggest difference. And I'm here to help you do the same, without the shame, without fluff, and always with Jesus at the center. On this podcast, we talk about biblical truths that you can actually apply to your marriage. We talk about how to communicate effectively and what it takes to create a deeply connected marriage, even if right now you're in a really hard place. I got pregnant at 17, married at 18, and had to build a life and marriage I never saw modeled. Jesus was all I had, and those early years, they were rough. Diapers, emotional outbursts, and total communication breakdowns. But if we can do it, you can too. So grab your coffee or tea and a notebook, and let's dive into today's episode. Okay, so I just want to preface this by saying that we cannot control what our husband does, right? So whether your husband is an unbeliever, he's in the middle, kind of wishy-washy, lukewarm, or he is given his life fully to the Lord and he is a believer, wherever he falls on the spectrum, one thing stays true, and that is the fact that we as wives can only control ourselves. However, we do have a huge interconnectedness as humans, as spouses especially, and there is a lot we can do to influence, for good or for bad, our spouse and their relationship with themselves, with the Lord, and with us. So today we're going to be talking about how do we influence that relationship in a positive way. So my first point here is that we need to have the mindset, and hopefully our husband will also pick up on this mindset, the mindset that God respects us. And if we can shift our mindset to see it this way and learn more about God's nature and who he is, that will help everyone in the house, but specifically your husband, to grow closer to the Lord. Because I think if this is your first episode, you might not know this, but if you've been around for a little bit, you know we talk a lot about how important respect is to husbands and what respect actually means and all those little things. And so if we know that respect is so important for husbands to feel valued and loved and important, then we can assume that some of their lack of ability to trust the Lord, lean into him, recognize his love for them, is because they might have a twisted view of God that says God is just looking to punish us if we do anything wrong, and God is like just expects us to do this, this, and this, and like other than that, you're kind of on your own. He's just kind of like hovering, but he's not really involved. Like they see him sometimes as they maybe saw their earthly father or other people in their lives, or as maybe they were in a church that was very like fire, brimstones, work of, the power of works or whatever, and didn't really teach about grace or mercy or love and all of those things. And so if they don't have a balanced view of God, one that is healthy, one that's based on all of the scriptures as a whole, one that takes into account what Jesus did for us, like if they don't have that full rounded view of God, then that could start to creep in and affect how they look at God, how they pray to God, how they invite God into your marriage and into your home. And so we want to be praying over the way they see God, but we also want to be intentionally like having conversations about it, not in like a pushy way or like we don't want to like probably go try to give them a Bible lesson on this. That might be a little overwhelming, but it's just those little things and like showing them in small moments how you see God and like letting that influence them over time, and like praying that God will bring the right mentors, the right Bible studies, the right church sermons like into their path so that he can begin to shift their mindset on it, because God wants to shift your husband's mindset about this even more than you do. So invite him into that. And the other thing I want to say here is for anyone who's skeptical, like, does God respect us? I just have to say that like the fact that God gave us a choice if we can follow him or not, if we want to follow him or not. Like he doesn't force us to be drones and follow him, and that's why we see so much evil in this world. And that is because God respects us. He respects our choice, and he wanted us to have that choice because he knows that if he would have forced us to love him, it wouldn't have been genuine. And so to me, that's just the ultimate sign of respect. And there's so many other ways that you see God respect our choices or, let us do things. Like he doesn't just take over, write us off. You see him even like choosing people who would have been the quote unquote like unlikely picks. Throughout the Bible, there's like Moses who said he couldn't speak in front of people. Some people say that he had a stutter. And then there was like Daniel. He was the youngest son. He was the one who was always left out. He was the the shepherd. He didn't have anything to do with the wars until Goliath. And then so there's all these examples, and to me, I think that's just another sign that like God respects. He respects all of us, even the people who are counted out in typical societal standards. So, okay. And then going on to point 2, this is kind of following the line of respect, but we're going to shift a little bit here. I want to read you a quote from Dr. Griggs. He wrote the book Love and Respect. That's one of my favorite books. I like to bring that up a lot. If you guys haven't read it, then I really encourage you to. But he said in that book, God has ordained that wives respect their husbands as a way to win husbands to himself. This is based off of 1 Peter 3:1. It's actually like 1-6 or something like that. Is really on the same theme of talking about this, but it really talks about how wives of unbelievers or husbands who are not acting as a believer should respect their husbands, and then their husbands will be won over by their behavior because they will see like, oh, she's doing this out of obedience to Jesus. So like this relationship that she has with Jesus must be real. Like there must have been something that caused her to change her behavior in this way and to look at me this way, even though I don't deserve it. And the crazy thing is, and this is true for parenting, marriage, friendships, in the workplace, etc. There's something that happens when you have anyone who's just a goodwill person. And I like to look at most people as like, they generally have a goodwill. Yes, like we're all evil, but in like our flesh, right? But like I like to generally think that like most people are trained to be good by the time they get to adults, to have like some sort of conviction, or have the Holy Spirit convicting them if they're a believer. And so there's this general rule that if you say something that is not directly condemning but is almost like hopeful towards the fact that they are a good person or they did a good thing, they'll feel convicted if they didn't, without you having to convict, like to actually say anything. So like I do this with my kids sometimes, like if I know I've told them to do something and they haven't done it over and over again, and I am just tired of like correcting them, then I might say something like, uh-oh, like, oopsies, we're not supposed to do that. Or I'll ask them if they did the thing I told them to do, like, hey, did you do blank blank? Or even like going beyond that, even a little more hopeful than that, saying something like, oh, I know I told you to do blank. I can't wait to see it. Is it done? Can I see it yet? You know, like those sort of things where it's like a little more upbeat, a little more positive. It's like it makes them feel like you're not sitting around waiting for them to fail. But then if they didn't do it, there's still that sense of conviction, like, uh-oh, like I'm going to let mom down, you know? And so we can bring that same attitude into this of like, respect your husband. That's the hopeful part in this example, right? Like that's a hopeful part of like showing up in a way of like almost giving like grace that they don't deserve, right? Because none of us really deserve respect, but like we do at the same time because we're all made in God's image, and God is the most respectable image that you could possibly have, right? So we show up giving that respect to our husbands because he's a creation of God. Even if we don't respect his behavior all the time, we can still respect him as a person. We show up, respect him. It's like this hopeful thing. It's like this hopeful light to him, like this lighthouse that says, oh my gosh, my wife thinks that there's something to me. Like I'm important. Like she's honoring me in this way that I feel like I don't deserve. But if you would have not given him that honor, then he would have felt defensive and he would have felt like, oh, I need to fight to like prove that I deserve this thing. Whereas like when we just give it, right? That's why God realized like, well, God knew all along, but like the old covenant didn't work to save people because they couldn't follow it. Because it felt like this impossible perfect standard they had to work up to, and then they would just get, discouraged. They just keep failing. And then with the new covenant, we have grace, because grace is what wins. It's what wins. It's what won all of humanity. Like if you want to look at the ultimate marriage play, Jesus Christ, the husband, and us, the church, the bride, he won us over with grace. That is how he reconciled. And so we have to bring that into our marriages. Ooh, that was so good. That was so good. Yeah. I want you to chew on that for a second, like rewind and listen to that again if you need to, because that is so powerful. So respect your husbands and just allow that to show your love for Jesus in a way that is very graceful. Okay, point 3. This is specifically about praying wisdom over your husband. So I want you to understand the importance of your husband having wisdom and the importance of you praying for wisdom over your husband. So this is important for so many reasons, but especially because when you read in Proverbs, it's like the book of wisdom, right? And they have so many proverbs talking about why you need wisdom, how to get wisdom, and how it can benefit you. And there's scriptures in there that would suggest that wisdom can guard you from infidelity, that wisdom can, et cetera, right? And so if your husband is going to be a good spiritual leader and you're going to protect your marriage on both ends, right? Like you both need wisdom. But with him being the spiritual leader of the house, it's even more so important that if you want him to be that spiritual leader, he needs to be wise to do that. And him feeling wise will make him feel more equipped to step up and do it. So some nuanced ways that you can pray for wisdom, that could look like God give him wisdom, right? That could look like God make him hungry for wisdom so that he wants to seek it himself, or show him how to seek wisdom from you. Show him how to acquire wisdom. look at him with favor and bless him when he asks for wisdom. Or God, surround him with wise company, friends, and mentors. So he is engulfed in that wisdom, right? Because we know good company, bad company corrupts, good people, and we become who we're around. So we want to have that wise company around him. And then you could pray, change his hearts and his thoughts to reverence you, God, because we know that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That's what Proverbs says. And so if the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and that when it says fear there, it actually means reverencing God, not like shaking in your boots, fearful or anxious. It means a reverence for God. Essentially, it means you respect God. You understand his all-powerfulness, his omnipotence, his omnipresence. Like, you grasp that and you are willing to listen to him, to obey him, and to follow him as your king. Okay, and then another way you could pray that is give him wisdom to see where different paths will lead him to. Because we know one of the aspects of wisdom is that wisdom lets you see where a path is leading you. And then you can decide if you want to stay on that path or not stay on that path. And that's why I love coaching so much, because, oh my gosh, it's just, we get to do that. Okay. And then another way you could pray is teach him and disciple him as your son. Or open his ears to hear you and his eyes to see you, Lord, because we know all wisdom comes from God. Okay, so real quick, now that we've gone over ways to pray for it, what are the benefits of wisdom? So I already said a few, but let me just put them all here for you. The benefits of praying for wisdom. It could guard your marriage from infidelity. You can find that in Proverbs 2. It could better equip your husband to be a wise spiritual leader of your home. It could allow the favor of the Lord to rest on your husband and rest on your home. And it could create a better relationship between your husband and God, which will then therefore affect him and your marriage. And if you have kids, there's that ripple effect. So I hope that is encouraging for you guys. One last thing before you guys go, I do want to tell you that I am opening internship spots. Now, this is going to be limited, right? So get in now. They will only be open until September 19th. So you have almost 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, to put your application in for that. And in exchange for that, you get my course. If you get through the whole internship, then you get my course at the end. And it's just amazing. You get to see what it's like working on the other side of the company and helping people and creating, graphics and resources. So it's amazing if you do want to go into an online field and you just need a testimonial about your work, or you need some experience to put on a resume, or if you just want that course and it's not in the budget right now, then this is a great way to get it. And I also want to say, if you are not interested in the internship, but you still want my help, you want to work with me, then please sign up for that 5-day marriage challenge. It is free right now. You can get 5 days with me one-on-one for 45 minutes over Zoom, and we will walk through a marriage communication plan custom to you. So hop on that while it's available, guys, and I can't wait to see you back here next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you got so much value out of it. And if you loved this episode, could you do me a quick favor and click 5 stars and leave me a review? It would do wonders for spreading the podcast out to other people who need it, and it only takes a few seconds. If you have an additional few seconds, why don't you go ahead and screenshot the episode and share it to your stories so we can spread the message and get more families healed. Thank you, and until next time, I will be praying for you, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.